gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's December the 4th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined this morning by Matt Shodell and Stephen Wagner as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by GameTime.co, your headquarters for all your ticket needs throughout the country in this phenomenal holiday season. What a great idea. Take a friend or a family member or kids to a concert, a sporting event, any a theater, a theater performance. GameTime.co will help you get the best price tickets for any event in the country, and we'll be talking a little bit more about them later in the show, but they will make it a seamless process for you, and you will be very happy that you use them. But guys, first, man, we just got so much to talk about today. I don't even know where to begin. The Miami Hurricanes got their bowl destination yesterday. They will be playing Rutgers in the Pinstripe Bowl at 2:00 on a Thursday afternoon when everyone in the country is working. Okay, December 28th. Okay, it's not New Year's Eve where people are cutting out of work early. It's not any other day where people don't have to work. It is the middle of the work week, Thursday afternoon. They have scheduled the Pinstripe Bowl at 2:00, and Miami is playing Rutgers. Matt Shodell, is this a celebration of finishing the season, qualifying for a bowl? Mario Cristobal, we are not mailing in. We are not going to be arrogant. We are not mailing in this bowl game. We are going to New York to win it. Talk to us. I'm
actually very, very excited for the Michigan-Alabama game. I mean, I really can't wait to see if the teams really come together at the end. I'm talking about Alabama because, you only get so many chances to play at the end of the year and put an exclamation point on your season, which Alabama will do. So, we'll see how it goes. No, I'm not excited. Miami against Rutgers. I could care less. It's good they're getting 15 bowl practices. If they don't win, the built-in excuse is going to be missing a lot of their key personnel. Not a big deal. Okay, if they get blown out by a bad Rutgers team that can't even score on offense, they're missing their two best safeties. Miami's missing their two best safeties. They're one of their best defensive tackles. They already are missing two of their other starting defensive linemen. To me, it's not a big deal.
Third string quarterback.
Rutgers can't score, but Rutgers has a good defense. So to me, it's not a great matchup for Miami because Miami's probably not going to score a lot of points either, just knowing what I know about this offense. And unless Ja'Carri Brown is great, and it's a no-win situation for Miami coaches, because if Ja'Carri Brown's great, every fan's going to say, where the hell was he all year when Tyler Van Dyke was, should have been benched, was benched? What the hell? These coaches are morons. And if he does terrible, fans will just be upset that Miami loses again. So, it's not a great situation for Miami either way, regardless of how Ja'Carri plays. And it's again a meaningless bowl game for most people. But Mario Cristobal said after the regular season finish that he wants this team to start treating these meaningless bowl games as if they're the Super Bowl, which is good because why not? I mean, you're playing the game. You may as well try to win, right? So I like that approach. I like that he addressed it, unlike this other stuff where he just doesn't really say things that I think he should say publicly. In other words, pumping up a team that everybody knows is average to below average. Now at least he's telling the truth, you can't keep losing 10 out of 11 bowl games the last 15 years and expect to all of a sudden show up when the bowl game means something. You got to start somewhere. And let's start with winning some meaningless bowl games against bad teams because Rutgers is a bad team. And Rutgers, I think 4 of their losses were against ranked teams, including Michigan. I'm not going to go through them all, but they didn't look good in those losses. They just have really been pretty bad on offense. They don't have a quarterback who can throw the ball. I mean, the guy's, I think, completing 46% of his passes all year, And, it was such a bad game that the ACC apparently tried not even to announce it. Because people at UM were telling us, listen, 2 p.m. You'll know at 2 p.m. We're going to tell we always try to get it in advance or whatever. And like and we can't tell anybody. But like they didn't even know. They didn't even know. It just got dragged out forever. It was like, and it was an embarrassing day for the ACC, quite honestly, to me. Other people might view it differently, but I thought it was a bad day all around for the ACC. Not a great matchup for Miami that's going to excite anybody. Rutgers, they're around the corner from Yankee Stadium. They're going to travel fine to the game. Miami, I don't know that Miami fans will, Miami has fans up there, but I don't know if Miami fans from Florida are going to go up there for the game.
This game is going to be played about 45 minutes from the Rutgers campus. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you just come up the Jersey, I guess it's the Jersey Turnpike, I think that one is, and you just come up and connect to I-95 and head north, you run right into Yankee Stadium. So they won't have to really do a whole heck of a lot. Steven's looking really bored over there for a legit reason. He thinks this whole, who cares about this bowl game? I mean, his alma mater's in the playoff. Go Texas. We're all going to be Texas fans here because Steven's alma mater, the Texas Longhorns, are in the college football playoff. See, that brings a smile to his face. Otherwise, he's we'll call him stone-faced over there. I'll be honest, guys. I'd rather go to the 15 practices before they leave for New York or like maybe 12 of them will be here, 3 of them will be in New York or whatever. I would rather go to the practices here and do a complete assessment of the personnel and where this team really is right now and have a great foundation for opinions than go to this bowl game. I mean, it's I just think it's a total nondescript bowl game. I mean, the most interesting thing about this game is that Mario Cristobal's first mentor in this business was probably Greg Schiano. Okay. When Mario was a GA, Greg Schiano left Miami to go take the head coaching job at Rutgers, and he gave Mario a job on his staff. And that was where the foundation of the Mario Cristobal work ethic that we see so much today and the intensity that he brings to his job. He learned a lot of that from Greg Schiano in the very early stages of his career. So that he's going against Schiano in this bowl game, to me, knowing them both, like I mean, I think that's kind of interesting. But beyond that, I mean, the game means absolutely nothing. Miami's going to be playing without a lot of its players. Have absolutely nothing to gain in this game. It's going to be the Super Bowl for Rutgers. They beat Miami, and Miami's not going to be really Miami in this game. I mean, when you look at the fact that you're playing a third string quarterback and a lot of your better defensive players are not going to be in the game. So it'll be interesting. Don't want to sound like I'm making excuses before it comes, but the whole thing and the fact that this is supposed to be a reward for a great season, and I'm not sure it's shaping up that way, is all kind of interesting. And then when you look around and you see how angry everybody is at Florida State, they got a great Orange Bowl game, that they're going to be playing. I know they're mad they're not in the playoff, but you know what? With your third string quarterback trying to play a defensive game, you probably weren't going to win that semifinal game anyway. I know it means something to have a chance, but Alabama has a better chance of winning that game than Florida State. And I didn't really have a problem with the way they did it. I thought the committee got it right. I understand why Florida State people would be really, really mad. But I think Georgia's got a beef too. I mean, they won 29 straight games and they lose a close game to Alabama, and now they're not even in the conversation anymore. So college football really, really needs this 12-game playoff. And Stephen, I know that you're euphoric about this Texas accomplishment and all that, but I got to think that you'll agree that when they move next year to 12 teams in the playoff, it's going to solve a lot of problems. It's going to make it a lot easier for the committee to get this done. It'll never be perfect. The team that's 13th and 14th are going to feel like they should have gotten in next year, but it's a much better system. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely do agree. And at the end of the day, for this year's playoff, I really do think the committee got the top 4 teams right. at the end of the day, I really do believe it should be Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. And I even wrote down, what I would have as the top four, and it was literally that in that order. Georgia losing one game out of its last 30, and that just so happens to be to rival Alabama, where Kirby Smart came from, and you lose by 3 points in the SEC championship game, getting left out, that freaking sucks. Florida State going undefeated as a Power 5 conference champ, regardless of who is or isn't available on your team right now. That sucks. I mean, I heard Mike Norvell talk about this. The results on the field have to matter at some point. And so, the idea of who is best really is subjective. But at the end of the day, these results on the field do need to count for something. So I think it kind of more just exposes, I think, what are kind of some flaws in the way that the current 4-team playoff format is structured as it is. I mean, the 4-team playoff format was supposed to be invented so that up to 4 teams could have this opportunity. We felt like, hey, just having the number 1 team in the country or having the number 2 team in the country is going to, end up selling this team short. I remember Miami being left on the short end of the stick in the early BCS days. Whenever Oklahoma went to the national,
the year 2000, Miami was probably the best team in the country.
Absolutely. And Oklahoma, because of a computer algorithm, gets the nod. And so, they invent this 4-team playoff thinking, oh, well, that'll solve the issues. But I don't think the committee envisioned a scenario where there really could be 6 teams that all have very legitimate claims to be in the playoff, or in this case, 5 of which could probably compete for the national championship. Florida State obviously is not the same team without Jordan Travis as they are with Jordan Travis, but still, an undefeated Power 5 conference champ is always going to feel like they should be in the playoff. And I do think the 12-team playoff is going to solve a lot, but it's not going to be perfect, because as long as the playoff is subjective and there aren't hard requirements or there aren't, hard standings the way that there are in the NFL for the playoffs, you're going to have people arguing, well, we're the 3 seed, we should have been the 2 seed, or we're the 6 seed, we're the 7 seed, we should have been the 6 seed. Because in the future, you're going to have arguments over, okay, who's going to get first round buys? Who's going to get to host a playoff game? Because, you think going to a place like Florida State in the regular season is hard? It's going to be even harder come playoff time. And same with Georgia and having to go to Sanford Stadium. Same with Michigan and having to go to the Big House. Same with Alabama and having to go to Tuscaloosa. These arguments are going to continue. They're just going to take a slightly different shape. The 13th and 14th teams probably will be a little irked that they are out of the playoff, especially if that's a team, who feels like they could have an opportunity to go and knock off a number 1 team. But I think that the 12-team playoff is going to fix a lot. I don't think it solves everything, because these arguments are going to continue, I think, as long as this playoff format period is subjective. It's not objective. It's based on rankings. It's not based on standings. And I'm not sure, quite frankly, how we get to a point where college football isn't based on rankings and actually is based on standings. Because at this point, it's almost like we're doing a power ranking of teams each week. And as long as you're going to keep it subjective with a ranking system period, someone's going to get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, I'll like it a lot better when they're arguing about who's 12, 13, 14, when we're sitting here arguing about who's number 4. Had they given it to Georgia, I would have been really annoyed, because it's like enough already. Like they've won the title 2 years in a row. They lost in what essentially was a playoff game on Saturday. It's time to let somebody else have a shot, So I didn't have any problem with Georgia being left out. And the Florida State aspect of it, I understood. So, like I said, I think the committee got it right. I know Florida State fans are annoyed and everything, and that doesn't bother any of us. They could be as annoyed as they want. We, Miami fans almost relish in them being annoyed. So there's not going to be no sympathy notes coming from the Canes Nation on this one. Miami's been there before and has gotten screwed itself in the past. So, listen, they're just going to have to get over it. They got a great bowl game in the Orange Bowl. And we will have to try to get excited about this Miami-Rutgers game. We'll be talking more about it over the next few weeks, obviously. But it's going to be a chore, man. It's going to be a chore to get fired up for this game, considering all the circumstances and the fact that it's 2:00 on a Thursday afternoon. But we'll move on from that right now, because there's even a more exciting development today, and that's the transfer portal is opening this morning. And man, that is going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of guys coming from different directions into the transfer portal. I am going to be very closely watching the quarterbacks because I am not sure Miami's got a lot of traction with these other top quarterbacks that have already become transfers. I'm seeing Lincoln Riley going to see Kansas State's Will Rogers and or Will Howard rather. I don't know who's actually looking at Will Rogers right now, but he's the Mississippi State quarterback. But I think, Miami's going to be looking for its quarterback today in the portal. So we'll be watching that very, very, very closely as guys declare their eligibility for the portal. And Miami will be doing heavy shopping here in the next couple of weeks, looking to fortify the roster in addition to what they are doing on the recruiting front. So, Matt, you're not a big portal fan. You've made that.
I'm a huge portal fan. If you get free agents, I'm not a portal fan. If you get just guys who fill up roster spots, I'm a huge portal fan.
Well, I think you'll be a little happier this year because I think that they will be a little bit more selective than they've been in the past. They don't have as many slots. I mean, they're only going to probably have 5 or 6 spots for transfers. It looks like they're not going to have, 15 transfers like they've had the last couple of years. They're not going to have room for that number of players. So that aspect of it has to make you pretty happy. The fact that they just can't go have a free-for-all in the portal.
I mean, they still can. I just realized I got to put my light on. Look how dark I am. Oh, is that so much better? Look how pretty I am. Now everyone can see my hideous face. But the portal is, for Mario, his worst nightmare because he hasn't done very well at it in the first couple of years. He's had some good finds, but overall it's not been as good as other schools. And it negates his biggest asset as a head coach, which is I think he's the best recruiting head coach in the country. But when other coaches miss in recruiting, when other coaches don't work as hard as Mario does in recruiting, now they can go out and get Mario's recruits a year later, 2 years later. I mean, you look at guys like Dante Moore. I mean, just because you get somebody in recruiting, even as a Miami fan, you can celebrate getting the 5-star defensive tackle, but that guy might be gone in a year. So it's so important that a private school like Miami has the funding of the major public schools that have, 10,000 graduates a year, 20,000 graduates a year. Because in the end, it's nice for the rich people and the big money boosters and donors to pay. But as you get 10, 20, 30, 40 years into this thing, which is going to happen, I mean, NIL is not going away, you really are going to find out that the fan base is the ones that are supporting NIL because in great respect, it's throwing money out the window. And business people don't love to do that, regardless if they have $1 billion or not. That's just not how they make money. Business people aren't there to give their money away to charity, for the most part. They want to make more money or have a good investment. And yeah, they give money to charity, but they get a tax break. I don't know if you get a tax break with NIL right now. But the point is, Miami is not in the same position fan base wise long term to get money. If you get $10 from every single fan on average across the country, Miami is going to be in the bottom half of the country money wise. So NIL is not great for Miami if it comes down to fans having to support it. Right now, it's not a big deal because the big money people are giving the money, and that has to keep happening. But for that to keep happening, Mario has to show results. And that means getting portal hits, not taking the John Dennises and the Logan Sagapolus and the Frank Ladsons and you can go down the list. I mean, there's been a lot of players out of the, I think 27 plus, maybe it's 30, 31, I think it is, or whatever it is, over the last 2 cycles that are just, wasted spots, wasted on AL money, things like that. And even Tyler Van Dyke, they had to up the ante for him when he was, when he, blackmailed them with Alabama, right? And Mario literally said at some point,
not going to be held hostage this time.
Yeah, he said we're not being held hostage anymore, And I don't know if that was about Tyler or whatever, but like that's what NIL is. NIL is basically leverage, money leveraged against you. And, they're probably paying Ja'Cory Brown. They're probably paying him just to play in the bowl game with somebody because like he has no incentive to play in the bowl game right now. He's probably going to wind up transferring, quite honestly. So because they're going to bring in a transfer quarterback. Emory's already ahead of him. That's just not how this works. And for fans who are used to rooting for the same guys for 3 to 5 years, or in Cam McCormick's case, 20 years, it's not going to be like that anymore. This is a pro sport now. It's a pro sport. And, I feel bad for Mario because he's such a good recruiter, and it's just painful to see that he now has to figure out how to navigate these portal waters. And we're going to find out starting this morning, and really in a matter of hours, where Miami can go with this at quarterback. Maybe they can talk, to his brother, maybe not talk him into it, but maybe to his brother will wind up in the portal and they could talk him to coming here. Who knows what's going to happen? But like Miami players, other schools are trying to poach them. There's illegal stuff going on left and right. I still have my cough, so I can't keep talking. But I mean, it's going to be a really interesting next 30 days. That's for sure. Yeah,
stop talking. Steve and I'll take it from here. Look, I mean, it's obvious, and Stephen will test this in a minute, I'm sure, that the bulk of the effort is going into traditional recruiting right now. They are working the high school ranks very, very hard. Other than looking for a quarterback, we don't really know of too many transfers. That one defensive tackle, I guess, that are on the radar to this point. I think they're sitting back and waiting. They want to see what declares tomorrow before they really dive too hard into the transfer portal. But it's very, very clear that the bulk of the recruiting activity right now is taking place at the high school level. It is creating an enormous amount of news. In fact, if you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, now is your time to come in, join our community of fans. We have minute-to-minute coverage going on of everything going on in recruiting, and we've put together a special offer for those who are not yet subscribers. You can get the first 2 months for $1. Okay, just use the code CANES1 when you sign up, and we'll give you your first 2 months for $1, and you can come and join our community of fans and follow the closing weeks of recruiting. It's going to be really, really, really interesting. But we're going to talk about a lot of that recruiting here in a minute, but I also want to take a moment to talk about Game Time, because this is the season where, one, a lot of people are buying gifts and tickets to sporting events, tickets to concerts, make great holiday gifts, great stocking stuffers. And that makes this a great time to acquaint yourself with GameTime.co, which is your unquestioned headquarters for last minute tickets with their flash deals and zone deals. And it's so easy to find and buy tickets with GameTime.co, whether you do it on the website or with their Game Time app. They will make it easy for every single kind of event in your area. You can even view what the venue will look like from your seat when you go to Game Time. And they've got a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection in case something happens. If you lose your job after you've bought your tickets, they'll take care of you on that too. And then they also have a 110% guarantee that they are giving you the best price. If you find seats in the same section, same row, that are cheaper than what you paid, Game Time will guarantee that you get the lowest price. So you can put it all together, and Game Time CO is without question the most seamless, easy way to buy tickets. That is for a reason. The founder of Game Time once had a hard time getting tickets for a San Francisco Giant playoff game. He went down to the basement, tried to print them, had all kinds of problems. He said, I am going to change this. He created Game Time. He created the Game Time app. He got rid of the printouts and everything else. It's all right there in your phone. Easy to buy the tickets and go to the event, transfer the tickets. So check out Game Time and maybe think about using them a little bit for the holiday season. And if you do, make sure you use the code CANES, CANES, and Game Time will give you $20 off your first purchase. That's a pretty sweet deal. code Canes, CANES, at gametime.co or the Game Time app, and they give you $20 off your ticket purchase to make it a little easier for you. So Game Time, the app, gametime.co, the website, for your last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Check them out. You will not be sorry. All right, Stephen, this is your moment, man. Recruiting, unbelievable effort has started. The coaches started home visiting on Friday. You and Azubi Charles have been grinding this entire weekend, chasing down stories on some of these visits. Give us your synopsis of how the Miami Hurricanes are doing on the opening weekend of this blitz, this 3-week race to signing day.
Yeah, the biggest thing we've heard so far is that a number of recruits sound like they're either totally shutting down their recruitment, which is the case for Marquise Lightfoot, who right now is Miami's second highest ranked commit in the On 300. He's a 4-star edge out of Illinois. He's totally shut down his recruitment. Or in the case of some guys like Kevin Riley, it looks like Miami is really reinforcing the position that they were already in. Kevin Riley, some of you might remember, he's a 4-star running back out of Tuscaloosa, Tuscaloosa County in Northport, Alabama, which, as you guessed, is right down the road from the University of Alabama's campus and Nick Saban. And Alabama was making a push for him. And it was looking like just last week, like he was probably going to end up taking an official visit to Alabama at some point in December. But now he's saying, yeah, he doesn't think he's going to go ahead and visit anywhere. And right now he said he doesn't have any visits planned anywhere except Miami. So that was the case for those two guys. They also went out, kind of swept through the Sun Belt on Saturday and Sunday. We saw them hitting Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia. So that means visits for guys ranging from Nye Card to Kavion Broussard and Dylan Day. Checked up on Judd Anderson too, made sure everything's good to go there. So really, this is Miami kind of reinforcing the positions they were already in with a lot of guys. And then, of course, I think the biggest one was they gave an in-home visit to Jeremiah Smith. And I think it's also important to note that Miami was the first program to give Jeremiah Smith an in-home visit. Signing day is just 3 weeks away, or 2.5 weeks now. He is planning on signing on December 20th. He will be an early enrollee wherever he ultimately signs with. And Shannon Dawson and Kevin Beard went to Jeremiah and his family, had a chance to speak with him and his dad, sat down and really tried to iterate that growth and improvement isn't as black and white as simply wins and losses. Sometimes growth and improvement really is just establishing the culture and doing the right things to set yourself up for success later down the road. Something that we've seen Mario Cristobal try to do whenever he was at places like Oregon, kind of establish the system. And then, and then in future years, you get enough guys buying into the specific culture, you get enough guys doing the things right, and you see enough progress, which Jeremiah and his dad did feel like they saw. They did feel like they saw some progress from Miami. They saw some improvement at the receiver position this year, and you get enough of that, and all of a sudden you're setting yourself up for the chance to compete on the levels of the Alabamas and Georgias and Michigans of the world. So I do think that Miami was able to make a little bit of progress on that front, and I do think that Miami's going to be able to keep their foot in the door for Jeremiah Smith all the way up until signing day. And unless something drastic changes, I would expect Smith and his family to consider or to continue considering Miami all the way up until signing day. I still think Ohio State is probably in the best position here. I think that Florida State probably is coming in second at the moment. Mike Norvell is actually expected to be at Jeremiah's practice today, and is expected to go check up on him ahead of his official visit to Tallahassee this coming weekend. So the Noles are definitely still pushing there. But I wouldn't consider this to be completely over up until signing day. And I think that every single program is going to attempt to make it very, very, very hard for Jeremiah to say no to their school. I think that includes Florida State, and I think that includes Miami.
Yeah, and this is the biggest recruiting effort for a single player that we've seen in a while here. This guy is that good, and man, like you just can't. If Miami's going to turn the corner, they can't let this level of talent leave South Florida. And Jeremiah Smith's obviously getting the full court press for the next few weeks. We will be covering it every step of the way. We got a couple stories on the website today from the weekend that you guys can check out if you haven't already seen it. And we will continue to cover this Jeremiah Smith recruitment like Miami's fighting for its last breath, because it's almost like that. It's that big, you know. So there were tons of other visits over the weekend. We got a whole litany of stories on the website. I'll touch on a few of them. 4-star defensive lineman Kendall Jackson, he decommitted from Florida, has told us Miami's right in the thick of things. That story is on the website. Steven mentioned Marquise Lightfoot, the 4-star Miami defensive line commit. He got an in-home visit from Mario Cristobal and Jason Taylor on Friday. It went really well. You can check out the report on that. We speak to Miami quarterback commit Judd Anderson, who had a really nice senior year, and take a little bit of a closer look at where he's at right now. We have a story with 2026 wide receiver Jaden Pettit. That's definitely worth checking out. He's been making a few trips to see the Miami Hurricanes all year long from over there on the southwest coast of Florida. He shares his thoughts on where things stand with him. We catch up with 4-star running back commit Kevin Riley, trying to get a feel for whether he's actually really considering Alabama or not. He's a very, very, very critical Miami recruit as a running back that maybe, hopefully, will emerge at a little higher level than what's on the roster right now. What's on the roster right now is really good. I think there's the hope that Kevin Riley can be great. So we'll be watching that one every step of the way. Alabama has been trying to get involved there. As it stands right now, we think Miami's solid, but that's one that you can't count on for sure until signing day. We got a story on Theodore, Alabama, 3-star Miami linebacker commit Bobby Pruitt. You could check that out, as well as the commit Elijah Lofton, who got a visit from Mario Cristobal as well this week. So a lot of different stories on the website for you to check out today. So Steven, if you were to sum it all up, Miami doing a nice job recruiting in this cycle. Do they need to do better at anything in these last few weeks? What do you think?
I think this time 2 weeks ago, we would have been saying, oh, man, there's so much for Miami to worry about. They have so many needs that still need to be addressed. But I think Justin Scott's commitment to Miami sheds a very, very different light on things. I think all of a sudden now Miami fans look at this class in a much, much, much more positive light. And yeah, while you would like to land a second whale in this class, Miami does now have a top 10 class. And you can say that you feel pretty good about where things stand at the moment, because really the only thing that Miami is missing right this moment is an elite quarterback. You know, they are good or at least passable at really every position in terms of the talent that they've been bringing in over the last 2 years. It's now looking like they're going to have stacked top 10 recruiting classes in back-to-back years. And it's really hard not to look at that with some sense of optimism if you're a Miami fan. You know, at the very least, you are going to be bringing in the raw talent that is required if you're going to be competing for ACC and national championships. You know your roster is going to be at that level. I think that it's really, really hard to say Miami's not doing a nice job in recruiting whenever you have a class that looks as solid as it currently does. Because right now, as we're going up and down this list, I'm seeing a lot more big names that are very solid to Miami than names that aren't. And if I'm a Miami fan, that brings me a lot of ease and comfort and peace of mind, because right this moment, there aren't a ton of guys in this 2024 class that I really am worried about or that I'm concerned about or that I'm keeping my eye on, because Miami has done a very good job really this last week and a half of making sure that it has solidified its position with the overwhelming majority of this class.
All right. So there'll be lots more coming your way here this week and next week. So Make sure you stay tuned to CaneSport.com. Make sure you're visiting several times a day. We will be constantly pounding you with stories and recruiting coverage here over the next couple weeks. That's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport, and we thank you so much for starting out your day with us. For Stephen Wagner and Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman, and we are going to see you next time. Everybody, have a great day.